Okay, Bismillah. Alhamdulillah. Salatu wassalam ala Sayyidina Rasulillah. We begin in the name of Allah, and we praise Allah, and we give our greetings and our peace to the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Apologies for the delay. Apologies for the late start. Bit of a mix-up. I had one date, and Imran had one date, and today was the day. But alhamdulillah, everything happens at the right time. Inshallah, hope people are not too tired. Maybe you're staying up, or maybe you're not. I don't know. But how's Ramadan been for everyone? How's it going? How do we feel at this point in the month? Has it been anyone's first Ramadan? How's it been?
It's been my first Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, it's going really well, actually, better than I expected it to go. So
oh, that's brilliant. I'm really happy
not too many dehydration headaches either, so I'm very thankful.
Brilliant. And Roxana saying alhamdulillah, ups and downs. So yeah, everyone has ups and downs. Everyone has their moments, everyone has their their trials, their tests. But I spoke to someone who my first Ramadan too, and it's been going great, alhamdulillah, mashallah, Hania, amazing. I had a brother from Colombia actually took a shahada before Ramadan, and he was like, yeah, I'll try the weekends, and then I'll try the first weekend, and then I'll see after that. And he's been fasting every day, and he said, he messaged me last night and said, what do we do? I've heard was kind of the topic in a sense of tonight. I heard that there's the last 10 nights are special. What should I do? And it's just so beautiful, and just there's an assistance, and there's a meded, there's a support which comes from God in these times, and it gets stronger and stronger as Ramadan goes on, and you can achieve things you didn't think you could actually do. And that's just one of the many blessings of Ramadan that you can't really you have to experience. You can everyone who's experiences knows it. It's hard to just describe it. Everyone has their own experience. But of course, there's only a few nights left. There's only a few days left, and the nights are in many ways more important than the days. Although we shouldn't neglect the days. Obviously, to fast the whole day is, especially as every day they're getting a bit longer. I think we're starting to feel that every day gets a little bit longer. So just to fast those days is an amazing thing. So big pat on the back to everyone that's done that and been consistent in that. And Allah loves that consistency and that steadfastness. And then there's the nights, these blessed nights which remain. Only a few left, about a week left really of Ramadan, and as always, it seems like a mountain when you first look at how am I going to fast the whole month, how am I going to get through this whole month, and then it just starts winding up, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, it's just a few days left and a few hours left, and that's a metaphor for life, that's we think we have a long time and we have this and we can do that, and who knows, things time just folds up. But anyway, the emphasis is on trying to make the most of what's left, and you'll hear a lot of reminders about the last 10 and the odd nights of Ramadan and Laylatul Qadr, and we'll touch on a few of those things. But it's important to remember everyone's at different stages. If it's your first Ramadan, then that's amazing in and of itself. That's a huge blessing and a huge gift in and of itself. The Prophet ﷺ it's narrated that he would really go all out in the last 10 nights, especially, and he would include his family. He'd wake up his family, his wives and his grandchildren and extended family, and make it kind of a joint effort, team effort almost. Everyone would be involved at some level, and those who've got kids will know that even if they're too young to fast, there's a buzz and there's an excitement, and there's something beautiful about Ramadan that they just want to be part of at some level, whether it's and that's how it should be, and that's how that's how we want our households to be. It's just that love of Ramadan. Ramadan's a guest, an honored guest which comes, and you're excited before the guest comes, and you get the house ready and you get yourself ready, and then if it's an important guest, you might actually go out to the airport or to the station to meet them and bring them back to the house, and the house is all ready and the house is all decked out, and then you're happy with that guest as long as they stay, and then the time comes to bid farewell to the guest, and it's quite sad. You might take them out of the house and take them to where they need to go, and bid them farewell, and give them the full honors, the full guard of honor. So it's really just realizing what the time that we have left and trying to make the most of it. And there's this kind of mysterious thing called Laylatul Qadr, which everyone talks about, which Allah talks about, but it is quite mysterious, and what does it actually mean? I still don't really know, after being Muslim for quite a while and hearing it every year. But it's kind of like with a lot of these things, it's kind of a leap of faith. We just believe in something which we can't necessarily we might kind of get a feeling for that tonight is a very special night. Something's happening that that's not normal, but in reality every night is special, especially these last nights. And it may be a night in which we kind of coincide with that blessed night, of the night of power, or the night of destiny, or the night of greatness, whatever you want to call it. But the idea is that we're in that sense of anticipation. That's kind of the idea, is that it's an anticipation that perhaps tonight could be the night. It's not just set on one set night and that's it. Also, although some people do, like, for example, the 27th night is a big night for many people, but it's more than that. It's something that there's an anticipation that tonight could be the night. So let me just try and be more, not necessarily do more, although that is part of it, but just be kind of conscious of something of blessings and asking, really asking and seeking, and a lot of all of this. A lot of this is, and one big principle in everything is having a good opinion of God. Having a good opinion of God. What do I mean by that? And this isn't just in Ramadan. This just sums up our whole relationship with our Creator, is having a good opinion of Him. What does that mean? Does anyone want to suggest what that means before I? What does it mean to have a good opinion of God? A good opinion of Allah?
Does it mean to have like ultimate trust in Him and know that he's always wanting the best for you? Yeah,
definitely. That's definitely a big part of it. Having trust in Him and know that He wants the best for you. That's a really good way of looking at it. Anyone else to add to that?
Just to have like complete love, and just complete love. I think it's the only words I have. Yeah,
that's definitely, to believe that He can forgive you and answer you. Yes, all these things. Have love, to realize that it is a relationship of love, and that's the essence. That had it not been our creation, us coming out of nothing is an act of love from our Creator, Subhanahu wa Taala, and Allah, may He be praised, and that's the greater, in a sense, the better opinion we have, the more the good we think of Him, the more we will receive. That's really, the more we realize that love, and when we see that love coming from Him, again, in Ramadan and outside Ramadan, but especially in Ramadan, it's more concentrated in Ramadan. But the more we can witness that love, and witness that Him wanting good for us, and Him opening the doors of His mercy, and Him pouring His gifts upon us, and Him, He says that He has made subservient everything in the heavens and earth for our sake, so that we can then worship him and we can serve him. Yeah, that's a big statement. Everything has been made subservient for us. Everything has been kind of in a sense subjected, just for, not that we are gods or anything, but so that we can then and then things have been facilitated for us so that we can worship him and we can serve him. But having a good opinion of him, and he says, I am as my servant sees me to be. So that's really important, that as everyone has been sort of saying in different ways, that if you, according to how you see him, if you see that relationship of love and you see that he wants good for you and he's answering your prayers and he's then that will kind of direct how we see him and how we can, if on the other side, if we see it as kind of a relationship of fear and of you know, he's out to get me, or he's you know, the punishment and so on, which is there. Again, we don't negate that Allah has this might and this power, and he has ability to punish and he has ability to do X, Y, and Z, but really that the emphasis should be on the love and on him wanting good for us, and that's how, if we have that, that's how we'll be received. And the Prophet ﷺ taught this amazing dua, this amazing prayer, which all the guys have probably heard, is to say to Aisha, to say, you know, she said, if I witness that it's Laylatul Qadr, you know, and that tells us something about who Aisha was, and how that they could actually have that perception and they had that spiritual insight to see this is not like any other night. This is a special night. So if I see it's Laylatul Qadr, what should I ask for? And the Prophet ﷺ didn't teach her a long, you know, there are long du'as that he taught, but he didn't teach on these long things which ask for all different kinds of things. And he taught just one very simple thing that all of us can learn. He just said that Allahumma innaka afuwan, you are afu, you are pardoning, you are all pardoning. Okay, this is because this is having a good opinion of God. You are all pardoning. You love to pardon. And again, that's the relationship we know that Allah has with us, and we want that to have that relationship with him, and that's how it'll be if we want it to be like that. You know, that you are all pardon, you love to pardon, so pardon us. That's it. Forgive us, overlook us. We all fall short, even if we're doing our best, even if we're worshipping and we've done all the Ramadan and we fasted and X, Y, and Z, and we've got, you know, ticked all the boxes, and we still need you afu. We still need this afu, this pardoning and this overlooking of our shortcomings and of what we've done. Yes, yeah, exactly. I think there's only one, in a sense, there's only one Laylatul Qadr, but different people will feel different things on different nights, and in a sense, that's if Allah has given you something on a certain night, then that's your Laylatul Qadr. You know, if Allah has given you the ability given you that extra insight and that extra feeling of connection, and the feeling of where it's a feeling of brokenness or a feeling of strength, whatever it is, and you feel on that night, then that's your Laylatul Qadr. You know, and every night can be Laylatul Qadr, and every night of the year can be Laylatul Qadr when we think of it like that. You know, Allah can give at any time, or it can be the day of Qadr. It doesn't have to be restricted to the night. So it's again this just the foundation of having a good opinion of God, that he wants good for me. Yes, there may be some difficult times, there may be some tests, and we have our lows, we have our highs, but beyond the bigger picture of it is that God is loving, and God is giving, and God is generous, and God is pardoning, and he isn't out there to get us. He's brought us to Islam. The majority of us have come into Islam recently or less recently, and he's he wants that for us, and he's opened that door. Of all, and everyone will have their story to tell. You know, how did I ever end up here? Like, you know, talking and praising and worshiping God. It's a miracle. It's an amazing thing. But it's all part of his plan, and part of his wisdom, and part of his grace, subhanahu wa ta'ala. But this dua that he's taught us, that is this, you know, it's this concept of witnessing his recognizing who he is and what he loves to do, and asking for it. You know, that you are And we could apply that to other things. We could say, God, you're the most generous, so be generous to us, and you're the most loving, so be loving to us. But this is how what he taught to our mother Aisha on that night. That you could have asked for many other things and kind of talked about many other things, but he taught this simple request that it kind of reflects that need that we have at all times. We're in a constant state of need and a constant state of just like we need to breathe. We need Allah's afu, we need Allah's pardon, we need Allah's grace, we need Allah's kindness, we need Allah's just to pour all these things upon us at all times, not just in Ramadan. And another element of this is that we've talked about our relationship with God, but also how that relates to our relationship with the creation around us. That we should everything we do in Ramadan, all these acts of worship and the fasting and so on, they should then reflect in our dealings with other people around us, which are often the hardest things, especially and often the closest relationships. You know, the people in your own house, husband, wife, children, parents. Those are often the biggest tests and the biggest difficulties and the hardest things. Often to it's much easier to be kind of have a persona of piety and goodness to people who you don't really know that well, people on the outside, and people you might see at work or see here and there, and give a smile and be polite to. But the much harder thing is those internal relationships. And that's why we see one of the most beautiful elements of the Prophet's character, peace and blessing be upon him, is in those. He was the best of people to his own family. He wasn't just someone that went out and preached, but when he went home, he had the best of character, and that was witnessed by all. And he was tested, in different ways, and with loss and difficulties and so on and so on and so on. But for us, we need to also apply this this principle of pardoning to the people around us. That if we are really seeking the afu, this pardoning of Allah and this kindness of Allah and generosity of Allah, then we also have to project that to people around us. And it's not often easy, especially if we've been wronged in the past by people, and there may be history, and there may be animosity, and there may be all these different things. But the more we can show that to the people around us, the more we will be raised. There's many there's numerous kind of encouragements to do that, to try and have to try and treat people better than they deserve, and better than to try and go that extra mile and go higher, which is very difficult. And if you don't, then it's acceptable. If you don't reach that, it's fine. But Ramadan is kind of telling us to go that extra mile, do that extra make that extra effort and try and reach that higher rank. But if you can't, that's fine. If you generally if there's a toxic relationship and you've been wronged and so on, then that's a different situation. But the greatest example we have is the Prophet Muhammad, and he had really the greatest of his perhaps the greatest event in his life was actually took place in towards the end of Ramadan, which was what's called the conquest of Mecca. Although I don't actually like the word conquest, because strictly speaking, it wasn't really a conquest. Conquest has the connotations of subjecting the enemy and defeating them and so on. But the Prophet he returned to his home, which is Mecca. And this is significant of a return back to the source, and Mecca itself coming back to where it should be, having suffered years of idol worship and all kinds of wrong things. The Prophet is now bringing it back to where it should be, and he is coming back to where he should be, and Islam's coming back to its rightful place. And he comes in without any without spilling any blood, and without taking revenge, and he comes in fact with his head lowered. Okay, and most armies march in with the bands playing and with the triumphal with this triumphal sense of victory, and he comes in with his head so low it's almost touching his beard, almost touching his saddle, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he he comes to the Kaaba, he comes to the Kaaba and he there's a purification that takes place. The idols are removed, and the adhan is called. Bilal, the great caller, he stands on the Kaaba and calls people to, he calls the call of truth, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And then the Prophet has essentially his enemies at his mercy, his own tribe, his own people who've wronged him, who fought against him, who've kicked him out of, who've exiled him and killed his companions and killed his own family and X, Y, and Z. They've done all these things for this period of years, 20 years or so of abuse and of harm, and now he has these people, the same people, at his absolute mercy. He has power. He can do what he wants to them, and he'd be in his own rights. He'd be justified if he did what he did. But he asked them, "What do you think I would do to you now? What do you think I should do with you?" And they say, "Just be," they're like, just be good to us, be good. And he said, "Just go forth and you're free." I'll say what Joseph said to his brothers. Remember, Joseph was thrown into the well, and his brothers wronged him, and his brothers did X, Y, and Z, and he's sold into slavery, and then he's eventually reunited with his brothers. And this is like the Prophet being reunited with his tribe and his clan. And there's no desire for revenge. There's no desire for retribution, even when Joseph now has power to do that, and the Prophet ﷺ has power to do that. But the real test is when you have the upper hand, and when you do have the power to take retribution, and you don't do that. That's the real sign of noble character. In fact, it's one of the highest types of character, to show this afu, to show this pardoning, show this kindness. So we had that immense example, and I'm not saying we can all reach that. I'm not saying we can all get there, and we all have our struggles, and we have, but at the very least, if we can just project some of this, if we soaked up some of the mercy of Ramadan, and we soaked up some of the blessings of Ramadan, we felt something of this connection to Allah, and we felt what we're talking about, you guys were talking about having a good opinion of him, feeling that love from him, and that kindness from him, and that forgiveness from him, then we can project that to the people around us, and we can be people that give off that goodness, and give off that kindness, and give off that generosity, and just want good for everyone. Want good for everyone. That's one of the definitions the Prophet gave of the deen is just wanting good for everyone, whoever they are, wanting good for them, sincerely wanting good for them. If you have something beautiful, then you want someone else to have that. If you have something amazing, you want everyone to have a portion of it. If they could just realize what it was. The problem, the barrier is that them not realizing what you have and what they can have. So inshallah, Allah bless us in these final days and nights, to do whatever extra we can. And one of the greatest forms of worship is dua, is just pleading with Allah, is supplication, and that doesn't take a huge physical effort, but it's more an effort of the heart. It's more an effort of pouring out your heart and finding the space and the place to do that. But that's one of the greatest. In fact, that's the essence of our worship, is that pleading and that speaking to Allah, and that asking Allah and saying that Allah knows what our needs are. Allah knows about so and so. Allah knows about the wrong that's been done in such a place. He doesn't need us to inform him that so and so is that such and such people are suffering. Please, Allah knows that, but He wants to hear it from us. He wants us to pour our hearts out to Him, and that's the greatest expression of our servanthood to Him. Is just say that, Ya Allah, I'm your servant, and I'm in need, and so and so. These people are also in need, and this person's in need, and we're in need, and we need what we need from you, Ya Allah. Inshallah. So Allah bless us in these last days and these nights, inshallah. And it's a time of many things and many gifts and many inshallah realizations and experiences and resolutions. That we make changes, even just subtle changes. We're not gonna be like this all year round, but if we just make subtle changes in our approach to things, and in our kind of worldview of things and our priorities, but just we take them out of Ramadan, and and that carries us, and it's the kind of breeze which Ramadan brings, kind of that wind just carries, fills our sails and allows us to carry on beyond Ramadan and beyond, and throughout the year. That it's not just doesn't just end with the end of Ramadan, but rather it carries it on. And that's one of another metaphors the Prophet uses, is breezes that come. Just a breeze comes from nowhere and it catches you. It almost catches you unawares, and these breezes come a lot in Ramadan. They come especially towards the end of Ramadan. So Allah allow us to receive those breezes, inshallah. I know it's late. I don't want to go on and on and on, but just inshallah hoping to be good, just servants of Allah, that just to put our hands up and ask, and have that good opinion that He will give, and that we will receive, inshallah. So anyway, please, if anyone has any questions or anything you want to share, please, if you had some, share any of your experiences or any things that have come to you, or any tips or anything, please, feel free to do that. I don't want to just talk and talk. Everyone's gone quiet. Allah bless you. I really just always enjoy coming to new beginnings in whatever capacity. It's a really good feeling about these gatherings, and I hope everyone's attended lots of things and had lots of benefit, inshallah, from what's been going on. Allah bless everyone, Rumela and Imran and Bilal, everyone that's been involved. It seems like a lot of effort's gone in. Alhamdulillah. Long may it continue, inshallah. And finally, the Prophet ﷺ has our back, in a sense. He lived his life for us, and he asked for us. He kept asking on behalf of his ummah, on behalf of the people that were there and the people that were coming, and he continues. And he's the most generous of people, and he was the most generous of people in Ramadan, and that generosity continues. It didn't just stop with his passing, but rather he still has his eye on his nation. He's still praying for his ummah. He's still happy with what he sees. And one of the greatest joys of the Prophet is to see people being guided, to see people like yourselves entering into Islam, to see people supporting each other as the early community did. And the more we resembled that, however much time has passed over these centuries, the more we resemble that early community in supporting each other and creating that sisterhood and that brotherhood, and just embodying those things. So Bethel has explained predestination of free will to non-Muslims and natives. I think that's part of it. I think everyone is a bit baffled by that, and I think that you don't necessarily get to the bottom of it. It's kind of like almost much better just to say this is as far as we can go, and stop, and the rest is a bit of a mystery. There's only so much we can rationalize. The fact that our minds and our understanding is only gets to a certain point, and Allah is beyond that. Allah is beyond that. But we can kind of find comfort in the fact that He is an all-loving God, and He is a just God, and no one will be wronged, and no one will be treated wrongly in that, that they'll kind of deal a bad hand, and then they're going to be taken into account for that. No, everyone has different tests, but there's justice, and there's goodness, and everything will be made manifest in the next life. Everything will be manifest in the next life. Not a single atom's weight of injustice will be done on the Day of Judgment. And in fact, the opposite, a huge amount. The scales are in our favor, but in a vast way. And any good we do will be vastly increased and multiplied, and no one will be hard done by. And we have immense hope in the mercy of Allah for everyone, including our worst enemies. We have hope for that, as the Prophet had is hope for that. But don't worry too much about trying to, the great scholars of Islam, the great theologians, spent their lifetimes trying to sort of get to the bottom of this, and the reality is it can't necessarily be, you can't get to the bottom of it in a rational sense. You can offer a kind of reasonable explanation, yeah, but there'll always be something more, and in a sense, as we know from our own experiences, you won't necessarily be able to rationally convince someone of predestination or anything, or even a more simple thing in Islam. To you it makes perfect sense, but to the next person it doesn't, and that's Allah says it's at the end of the day it's the heart, is what Allah calls sharah sadr. If the heart is open, it will accept it, and if it's not, you can talk all day, and you can bring all kinds of rational proofs, and you can bring the scientific this and that, and that person will listen and nod and be like, they're just not convinced at the end of the day. So don't take the whole world on your shoulders, and don't take these massive theological issues. Above all, you're the most important. It's your understanding is the most important. It's yours content, and you're happy with things, and happy with not having the answer to everything, in a sense, not having the final word on everything. Then that's good. And if you can convey that to someone else, and don't be ashamed to say, don't be shy to say, I don't know. I tend to look at how we treat others. And that's yeah. I mean, it's at the end of the day, what are we, what are we responsible for? That's what are we going to be asked about? Is what we've done in our 24/7, in our day and night. How have we spent it? Now, what have we done? Have we given our response? Have we discharged our responsibilities? Have we done what we were asked to do, or have we not? As for the bigger, what happened to so and so, and why is it so many people are suffering while we're not, or that's at the end of the day, that's it's perplexing, and it's puzzling, and it doesn't feel. But at the end, but we don't have to answer that at the end of the day. We can offer something of an explanation, but it's Allahu alam. At the end of the day, Allah knows best. Allah knows best. But what we're responsible is as you're saying, is our relationships. He is saying that our free will comes in, what are our choices that we make in our day and our night, and the people that we deal with, and what we've done, how much have we fulfilled our responsibilities and done our best, and Allah make it easy, inshallah. Allah make it easy. Allahu a'lam. Even the night of Laylatul Qadr is also the night of decree, which is again is a mystery. What is actually happening, what's being decreed? But who knows? Inshallah, Allah will make us understand, inshallah.
I have a question just about the night of decree. You can request to have your path changed, but I guess I don't really want to ask for my path to be changed, because what's in my path now already laid out for me could be really good. So it's a bit risky to ask for your path to be changed when you don't know what that path is yet.
I mean, it depends what you mean by your path being changed. It's essentially what you want is to be is to make the best of choices, and to remain on the path, on the path of the upright, the straight path, and do what's pleasing to Allah. You can't change what happened in the past and what's affected you, but
have I misinterpreted that we could have our paths changed if we asked for it? Maybe I've read something that's incorrect.
No, I mean, it is a bit of a mystery what actually happens on the night of decree, what's actually written, and I think it is difficult to understand whether that someone's things may be decreed in this night. For example, what's going to happen, and what things you're going to receive, and who's going to die, and things like that. That's not really in our control. All we can do is ask for what's good, and what's essentially what we were saying before, of making the best choices in what time we have, and what we've been given, what the provision Allah's given us, the time He's given us, and the things He's given us. All du'as accepted the night of power. In reality, all du'as are accepted every night. That's the thing. Every du'a is accepted. That's the beauty, is if you be given the ability to ask, then be sure of a response, but not necessarily in the way that you want and the way that you think. And the Prophet said that it's one of three things happen, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that either your dua is answered, what you asked for is answered in the short term, or it's saved up for you and you receive it in the next life. And perhaps your wish that none of your du'as are answered when you see the things that have been saved up for you in the next life, or that some calamity is and some harm is removed from you by the virtue of that du'a. So du'as are especially answered in Ramadan, especially in the night of Qadr, the night of power. But in reality, every time we make du'a, we're guaranteed a response, and the fact that we've been given the ability to ask is everything, really. You know, if you find yourself asking, then thank God. That's the biggest blessing. If Allah has given you the ability to ask and the desire to ask, and just keep asking, because that's just a door, like the tap's been turned on and the water's just flowing. So just keep asking, and it's coming. Some things are only understood when experienced and reflected on personally, and no amount of explanation will do it justice, because of how different we all feel. We all are, yeah, definitely. And everyone, especially when it comes to these things of qadr and what's destined and what path Allah has chosen for us, and we will never we'll never see the full picture. We'll never understand completely, but perhaps things will, and everyone's path is different, and everyone will have different experiences, and you know, it might be like 40 years later you look back and say, yes, now I understand why that happened, or it may never happen, you know, and it'll just be saved up for when we look back on our lives in the next life, when almost like the videotapes are played back, and we'll see, yes, it's just, and as one of the companions said, if the veil was lifted, you would only choose what Allah had already been chosen. You know, if you could see everything, if you could see the behind the scenes, and if you could see everything, then you'd only choose what has already been chosen. You just see perfection. You see the absolute wisdom of everything that happens. But in the moment, we can't see what wisdom, what beauty is in suffering and in harm and this and that. But if we could just see it from the full perspective, we would be in awe of Allah's wisdom and justice and goodness as well. Allahu A'lam. Allah knows best. And that's not to belittle people's suffering, and not to say, you know, and it doesn't mean we don't try and change. It doesn't mean we don't try and do something about it. But it is what it is. So maybe we'll leave it at that, inshallah. Allah bless everyone who's here. It's been nice to be with you guys, and have a blessed end to Ramadan, inshallah. Hope there's the deluge of goodness and blessings pour down upon us all, inshallah. Those needs that we have are answered, and those difficulties we have are removed, and those openings that we need are to come, inshallah. And yeah, Allah bless you all. Allah bless you all. Barakah. Allah give us barakah and blessings in what we have in this, and in the 10 days and nights, whatever that remain, and what remains of our lives, inshallah, and that we set our sight on eternity, inshallah. This short life will come to an end, and what remains will be what we set forward for the journey to the next life, inshallah. Allah bless you all, inshallah. We'll meet again, inshallah, before too long, and we'll pray for, but let's promise, inshallah, to pray for each other. I'll pray for you guys, you pray for we will pray for each other, inshallah. And the dua you make for someone in their absence is answered. That's one of the beautiful things that Allah gives you and gives you the same, or if not more than what you ask for someone else, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Allah bless you. Leave you in Allah's care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.